Okay, welcome to our blab. We are going to be talking about the 5 steps to manifesting the love you want. I am Sandy Weiner. I am the founder and chief love officer at Last First Date. I work with women and help them be the women of value that they are in the rest of their lives so that they can attract the love that they deserve. And I especially work with women over 40, help them communicate well, help them really love themselves first and manifest that love out into the world. And that's why we're talking to Isabel. So Isabel, introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Isabelle Rizo, and I am a digital nomad and marketing consultant that helps female entrepreneurs create location-independent businesses around the world. I'm currently in transition, which is good. But if you would like to find out more about my blog and what I do, my website's thebellavie.com. And I love to connect with women of all ages and all backgrounds because I believe I have something to learn. Usually I learn more from my clients than I teach them, I hope.
I also learned so much from my clients, and I will share my website too. It's lastfirstdate.com. And I have a fabulous group on Facebook that Isabel is part of. It's called Your Last First Date, and you're all welcome to join me. I love having great conversations about dating, about the struggles that people have, and it's a really positive, warm environment for people to have those conversations. So let's get started.
Yes, and I love being part of your community, and it's a great group of women to be around, and like all this life experience and wisdom that everyone offers. I just love being a part of that. So thank you for allowing me to be in that space, even if I'm not your target demographic. I learned so much from you.
Oh, thank you. And when you shared in the group that you're no longer single, it was like, whoa, what's happening? So
I know.
started a little flurry.
I know it was, I posted it at night, and in the morning I checked my Facebook notifications. It was like, boom, boom, boom. I was like, whoa, what happened? And I checked and everyone was like, Mazel Tov. And I'm like, right. Oh my God. It was great. So yeah, that happened. And I guess we could just dive right in here.
Yeah, let's dive in. So what I would love for you to share is a little bit of where you came from in terms of love. And you're very young. You're in your early 20s, and you are a person who works on yourself. You're very self-aware, and you're constantly looking to grow and love yourself more. And so I love watching your journey, but I would love for you to share, like, where were you coming from, and then what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was coming from being an entrepreneur, serious businesswoman, always had to hustle and do work. And first off, I didn't make time for dates. And then something opened up and I was like, I think it's kind of time for me to go out. So I made an online account on OkCupid, and I went out on a few dates. However, every time I would go out, I made it like a business transaction. I was like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is blah, blah, blah. Are you interested? You know, guys, yes. And the guys would be like, you're really serious.
You're intense.
Yeah, you're intense. Like, I was like too intense for them. And I said, what am I doing wrong that I'm scaring guys away? Because I thought, I'm like, I put my expectations up front and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it would work. But it wasn't giving me the results that I wanted. So I was working with a really good friend of mine. She's a kinesiologist and energy worker. And we were going through she works on patterns and behavior patterns that you have that you might subconsciously not be aware of. And we worked through a couple of those things, and I let go of some limiting beliefs and thoughts that I was unaware of, a lot of lack of love for myself, a lot of self-sabotage, a lot of belief that I had to be this very masculine businesswoman to be successful in the world, where I could embrace femininity. Oh my gosh, that's a novel new idea. And I'm still learning that as well, because it was 7 years of just hustle, hustle, be like one of the guys. I was in the tech startup scene for the longest time, and the whole digital nomad scene, it's like 80% men, you know? So I'm like, when a guy would open a door for me, I'm like, I can open the door myself.
Yeah, I got this.
I got this. I can take care of myself. I don't need you to take care of me. And I realized that then the guys would feel like, then if she can take care of herself, then why she doesn't need me? I'd just be like a little accessory for her, and I don't want to be an accessory for her, you know? So got rid of those limiting beliefs and started taking more care of myself. Like even now I have my green smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
I learned while on my last nomadic journey, the habit of rushing. I have this Russian idea that I have to go to the next goal, to the next goal, to the next goal. And only when I get to the goal, I will be happy, instead of being happy with the process and the goal.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
This is Tal Ben-Shahar wrote a book called Happier that was very popular. He's a psychology professor at Harvard, and he calls those type of people rat racers. And so they are never happy until they reach their goal, and then they're only happy for a few seconds or maybe a day, and then they're on to the next goal. So you're never really happy.
Mm-hmm.
And in exactly what you just said, the ability to enjoy the process and have the goals. And this is true for dating and for business. And Rocco Steady says, that's a huge step to embrace your divine female. Yay!
Yes.
And it is.
Definitely.
And I think so many women, no matter how old they are, especially business women and entrepreneurs in particular who are running their own businesses, we tend to not realize what we're doing, and we put out all this masculine energy, and it's not attractive to men. And Rocksteady says, as a man, I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So you started to do some self-care, and
that's when things they definitely shifted, and I almost it was like a light bulb went off, where I'm like, I'm living the dream, but I'm not 100% enjoying myself. What's up with this? Because I was thinking again of like the next city I'm going to be in, the next project I'm going to work on, where's the money going to come from here? And when I let go of that, it was the most freeing thing, because you have that on your mind all the time. And as a digital nomad, especially, you're juggling 1,000 things at the same time.
Yes.
And after a while, your brain is like, nope, not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I still remember the day. I made a cup of tea, and I brought out my sketchbook and my watercolor pencils. And I had like a long to-do list, because we always have a long to-do list. And I sat outside, and it was raining. And I was just like, this is the life. Just sipping my cup of tea, doing my sketching, appreciating the rain, being grateful for this whole experience, and not allowing my future to-do list and everything being in the way of just this moment right here, right now. And I think that's when the light bulb, where there was that shift, or that mindset shift, where it's like, what are you in a rush for? Just enjoy the process.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that equates also not just in business, but in life and in relationships, where I'm like, okay, I need to get him to be my boyfriend, and then that we can get married, and then it's going to be this and this. I'm like, you can't approach it that way. No. No way.
No, that
scare people away.
Freak the guy out. Because you also can't know any of this until you get to know somebody. So again, it's that same pattern of know what your goal is in the end, but sort of sink into it, sink into the day to day. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, you know, as Raka Steady is saying so many
Yeah,
great
yeah.
things here. And the process is beautiful. It is. It's so many people don't appreciate that process. And he also said human being and not human doing.
Yes, I keep saying that over and over in
Yes,
conversation.
we forget that we are in our beauty when we're being. And it's very hard for people to trust that. So,
Yes.
yeah, so that's so wonderful. And it's trust, you know, trust in yourself and trust in the universe. And, but you don't just sit back and do nothing either.
Yes.
So let's talk about the, Rocksteady wants to join us. Sure.
Yeah.
Take a seat.
Of course.
We got
This is great.
Yes, we have 4 seats. Hey, how are you?
Hello, Rocco.
I just want to say thank y'all so much for sharing your light. Isabel, I can truly see the joy in your face.
Aww.
Doesn't she look like she's so like you had a burden at one point, and all it is namaste. The light in me recognizes the light in you, you know?
That's beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, ladies, I have a very similar story, and I definitely commend y'all for utilizing modern day technology to leverage your message and share it with the world. And that I hop on blab. I'm a blabaholic. I'm on blab.
That's great.
The blabbers are like my coworkers. Like I'll do my work and I'll hop on blab and I'll pretend like y'all are next to me, you know?
I love that. Yes. That's why I love technology and storytelling through technology.
Yeah, I want to say that I went out with a guy recently and he said, as we get older, our worlds get smaller. And he goes, my world is really small now. And I said, that's really interesting because my world is huge. Like I have this community here. I have my Facebook community. I have my clients. I have my family. I have my friends. I have so much love and amazingness in my life. And it feels so expansive. And I think when you really sit in on these blabs and participate in conversations, you have so much open to you. It's so big. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Oh, no doubt. So what's the topic today? Today's manifestation?
Manifesting the love you want. So Isabel has a new boyfriend.
Yes.
And they just became an official couple. And so I wanted her to share the steps that she took to manifest this boyfriend into her life, because it didn't just come. It came from the self-work, and it came from letting go and not rushing and being patient. Yes.
So much.
Yeah.
All of this combined together. And I wrote up the 5 steps, and I will go a little bit through them all. So I'm not fighting after years of practicing self-discovery and taking time to do it. I may be ready. Yes. It starts with the inside first, which is number 1, love yourself. Number 1, love yourself. And it sounds so easy and almost selfish. And the word selfish, I think, has a very negative connotation or meaning, heaviness to it, because I would be the person that would be giving from my whole heart and be generous because that's what nice people do, right? But I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't giving from a place of me loving myself and giving from my overflow instead of like giving what I don't have away for somebody else's happiness, which it's still okay. But at the same time, if you're not happy, that energetically goes out to that person too.
Yes.
Even subconsciously that you're not aware of. So the number 1, oh no, go ahead, Rocco.
No, I said that's so, I mean, if y'all can't see, my brain's on the floor because y'all are blowing my mind.
Yes,
that's great.
My overflow. That is it resonates so much with me. Keep going. I'm loving it.
Yes. And it's something that I kept hearing over and over, but I wasn't like, when you understand something up here, but you don't resonate it with your whole body, with your heart, with your soul, with your mind. And it finally sunk in. And there's still days, of course, when I'm like, I get it up here, but I'm not going to do it. Like we slip into that, and that's just being human. And that's when you forgive yourself. And when you forgive yourself, that's again coming from a place of loving yourself, being like, that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Because and many, I think, entrepreneurial women or just business women, leader women, are very self-critical of ourselves. Be like, no, it has to be perfect and it has to be this way and this and this. And that's how I was with myself. It would manifest in self-sabotage too. And I'll take on client work and then I wouldn't deliver, or I would take on too much and then I couldn't, I would burn out, and I've burnt out too many times. So I had to say stop to that. And I was like, let me look at the root of why I'm burning out so much. And it was, again, coming from the space of not loving myself. So I couldn't give from, I was going to pass on that energy to somebody else. And that's toxic. But I wasn't even aware that I was doing it. And a lot of people are going out in the world and they're bringing in that toxic energy to relationships, and they're not even aware of it. So if anything from this talk that you get from this blab today is putting that awareness on yourself first, and then just realizing, oh, okay, I'm aware of this and this, and then creating from that space of just loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a saying that I say to everyone, and I say it to myself, is upgrade to a better you to attract the best boo.
Oh, that's great.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. We create the relationship with the energy we bring. Yes. Yes. Coach Nori, love.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the first one. What's the other four?
You got to be patient.
I know. Patience. I know. Yes. I didn't put that on the list, but that's definitely one. Okay. Patience comes from when you love yourself. But anyway, the second one is cultivate a self-care ritual. And for me, this looks like in the morning, and it depends what everyone really likes to do. In the morning, I do my yoga, and I have like my little, I have like a little poster on the wall with different yoga poses. So it's right there. I don't have to set up like a yoga teacher or a video. I do my oracle card readings in the morning, my journaling in the morning, and then my makeup. And putting on my makeup is part of the self-care ritual where I don't rush, really intentional, and I have fun because it's a fun, creative process, and it sets the whole mood of my day. And this is a time where I close the door. Nobody's coming in the room. This is my me time. And when you respect your me time, then other people respect your you time too. And that manifests also in your relationships, in your business. And it's a boundary thing. Because I was the worst person with boundaries. I'm like, I'm letting everyone in. I'm like, I want to help everyone.
Yeah, can't do that.
You can't. And then you let people down, and then people, then that doesn't help you, and it doesn't help them. So learning to put those boundaries up for yourself comes from, again, respecting yourself. And where does that come from? When you love yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're not loving yourself first, it's not going to manifest in the outside.
Right. So people have such a problem with this because they believe that it's selfish and, to take the time for yourself, to put yourself first. And I remember after my divorce, I was on my own and I had my kids in the house, and they had to get used to the new me who was taking care of me. And I wasn't only at their beck and call. I was running a business and I was taking care of myself. And they got mad at the beginning, but then they started to respect me. And we have a fabulous relationship, but it starts with, I respect myself because I want you to respect yourself. And I just had this conversation with my 24-year-old son this morning, because he said, when I go out with women and I show them that I have self-care, that shows the confidence that I have in myself. And that's a much more appealing quality than a lot of men who come out there and date. So, I've dated men who have shared with me all of their insecurities right up front. It's like, work on those. Don't share them. Not very, when you get to know each other, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's good to be vulnerable. It's good to open up, but not when you're first starting like on the first date and you say, you know what, I don't really like myself, because that's really what they're saying. So, you know, really love yourself, take care of yourself. And I love the morning ritual. And you recommended a book called Untame Yourself, which I'm really enjoying. And I know that's
kind of so good.
So good. And I just shared one of the morning exercises with one of my clients, because her recommendation is to do 2 minutes of breathing, to breathe in the good, breathe out the crap. And then do 3 minutes of body movement, and do that with music if you want. And so you're really getting grounded in your body and in your breathing. And then the third thing is to spend about 4 minutes journaling, and journaling to set intentions, to really be positive and set good intentions for your day. And I think that's a great way to start your day, to really be focused on you. A lot of people will go right to email, you know, and
I was guilty.
Yeah, me too. And the problem, and somebody pointed this out to me, she's also an entrepreneur, and she said, when you go straight to email, you're already giving to other people. You're attending to other people. So you want to attend to yourself first, so that you fill your cup before you go out there and fill other people's.
Yes, exactly. And I love that you brought up the vulnerability. And I think this is really interesting. I've never thought about it in this way, but with the feminine, being vulnerable is kind of just, it comes with that energy. And then with masculine, to be vulnerable, it's kind of like, can't be as to be strong. And for me, it took forever for me to learn to be vulnerable, especially with somebody very masculine. And when I was out dating, I ended up being vulnerable. And the response that he had when I was being vulnerable was like the most amazing response ever, where it's like, no, it's totally okay. No, I'm here to take care of you. Do what you need to do. And I'm like, what? This is so strange. My reaction, because I was amongst guys all the time, I had to be strong, one of the guys, and professional, was that he appreciated my vulnerability, and he found that was a very good quality that I had. And he's like, you can be that way with me. It's okay. And I'm like, okay. And then I let go. But I'm still learning to embrace that part of me, and, not spill out your whole guts everywhere, but,
It's a balance, and it's all
a balance.
And it's also a balance to balance your feminine and your masculine energy. Because a lot of women think you have to be all feminine energy, and that's the only way to be with men. And it's not true. I think men also have feminine energy, and it's the balance that makes you interesting. You have this tough masculine energy side of you that helps you run your business, that helps you to take charge, be a leader, be competitive, all those things that help you succeed in business. But the feminine part of you is the part that's softer, that's more about receiving and allowing and being present. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. And they don't turn that off in the dating arena. And so you had to learn to suppress some of that.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, and I think I might have brought this up on the last blab, but when you bring that competitive edge, you don't even realize, like I used to love witty banter. I mean, I still do.
Yes.
But witty banter is all about one-upsmanship. It's about, well, I'm going to do better than you on the next round. So you're really competing, and that can be fun for a while, but then it can also just be off-putting. I don't know. We have a man here. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of competition and a lot of unwillingness to be vulnerable is ego, fear. And fear is the opposite of love. And I definitely understand a place of where a man, I believe in gender roles. I do. And that's my personal opinion. I believe that a man should feel like a man. And if you make a woman feel like a woman, she can do magical things. I've definitely witnessed both ends of the spectrum where a woman was so defensive because of her past experiences and pain that it would shut me off, and it was definitely off-putting because it was not listen to anything that I had to share as a person or as an individual, not even being a gender, but as an individual, she was so defensive. And it is definitely off-putting if a woman's constantly trying to one-up you, or not, or even just friendships in general, basic relationships where they don't celebrate your celebrations and they feel insecure about their own personal situation, so they can't celebrate with you. I always tell people you can either be inspired or you're going to be expired.
I love that.
That's a good one.
We got lots of quotes there.
I like it. I like the quotes.
They're great. And you're so right. I have ended friendships where the person felt jealous of my successes or couldn't be present. And I think, again, that comes from ego. It comes from a person who is not full internally, So when you fill your cup, and you do all these things that you're talking about, all the self-care, you're able to give. You're able to be present with somebody else. You don't have to always be heard. You can actually listen and be present.
Yes.
I love being vulnerable because it's so authentic and so raw as a human being. And I'd rather a woman be vulnerable with me in the beginning, so that way I don't have to shift through all of the fronting, I'd rather deal with whatever you're dealing with now, because I'm dating you, you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure you out. I'm trying to understand, and before we move on past, 4 months, 3 months, whatever, we might as well get to know the rawness of each other and see if we can handle each other. So that way the compatibility, the chemistry probably would be there, but the compatibility, the willingness to endure, for example, one of my pet peeves, and it all boils down to our wounded inner child, right? So our wounded inner child, I was abandoned as a child. I was sent away to stay with 10 different families. So abandonment is an issue that I have, and it's something I work on daily. So if I get into an argument with a significant other, I can't stand it when they just leave. They just get up and leave and say, I can't take this anymore. That word just, it's not good for me because it's not healthy for my inner child. So in the beginning of a relationship, during the dating period, I tell them, I say, look, this is my story. This is what I've experienced. And let's do a situational, hypothetical situation. If you and I were to get into an argument, how would you like me to communicate with you? And that's part of being vulnerable.
I love it.
There's a lot of women that'll be like, I don't know. And I'm just like, no, for real. Like, are you going to storm away? Are you going to run off? Or are you going to sit there and bug me until we talk about it? What is your method of communication in these integral moments where rash decisions can be made, where we will actually, we could potentially build or destroy our relationship?
I love that.
It's putting the awareness on the way that you communicate. And I think that's wonderful because we have actually, I went to a talk on this about when we don't understand how this person communicates, the automatic response is looking at the person at a lower level. So then we're right, they're wrong. And that's when ego comes in.
Right.
But understanding how this person reacts or how this person communicates, and then that doesn't surprise you as a way of communication. And, then you're like, okay, I'm prepared, that I know that when they're like this, they're actually in their head a lot, or if they're not talking to me right now, they're just like processing. And that's okay, because that's how they know to communicate and deal with their emotions or their things. Because if you don't know, then you assume things, and you're like, oh, they're angry at me, or they're like this. So I like that you bring that up, and learning how that other person communicates. It's a very good thing to know.
Yeah,
and I believe that a true healthy relationship is celebrating each other's strengths and accepting each other's weaknesses. Like, I accept you for your imperfections, and that's what makes you beautiful. Instead of having miscommunication and then we're bringing each other's faults up to the table and we're pointing at each other and poking at these wounds, that's so negative. And guess what? The universe will only give us what we proclaim we want, what we feel like we deserve.
It's true.
And so I'm going to, let me tell y'all something absurd. Okay, this is absolutely absurd, but I believe when I say it, it becomes my reality. If I say it enough, it becomes my reality. If I write it enough, it becomes my reality. The other day I was getting my hair cut, and the woman that was giving my haircut, she washed my hair before I got a haircut. I had an epiphany while she was washing my hair. I was like, this feels incredible. I was like, this is like amazing. And it's the most simplest thing, getting my hair washed. And I haven't gotten my hair washed since I was a little boy, but it made me feel like a man. It made me feel like I was loved or something. It was really weird experience. But this is why it's really weird, but I'm going to proclaim what I want into my existence. And this is part of manifestation. I told her, I was like, man, if I could just have a woman to love on me like this is a good form of love. I would appreciate it if she would wash my hair and just like, massage my scalp. And she goes, well, you I guess you have some trouble finding that woman. You got to. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start proclaiming that. I'm gonna start proclaiming that, and I'll say it in my first dates. I'll be like, you know what? I'll say, hey, what's something absurd that you love? And I'm gonna tell you what's absurd. I like getting my head washed. That's.
I might save that for a second date, but. So
yes.
Yeah, I love that you know what you want, and but it can scare people off if you say too many things too soon.
No, it definitely does. I definitely agree with you, but I believe that if it scares you off, you're not meant for me.
Okay, so I'm going to say something to that, and then I want to get back to Isabel's 5 steps. We tend to often tell too much too soon because we're trying to connect. And think about it like this. And hi, Danette.
Hello.
So Brene Brown, who I love, and you probably have heard of, she, at one point, she talked about friendship as, she compared friendship to twinkle lights, like a Christmas string of twinkle lights. And every time you form a bond with a friend, it's like turning on one of those little lights. And until you get this beautiful string and it's this bright light at the end, right? So I see relationships, building relationships in the same way. So you don't turn on the disco light, you don't just dump the whole thing. And I had a client who was sharing her life experiences in initial emails online, and the guy wrote her about this much, and she wrote back like, and let me tell you about the time I went here, and and it's exciting when you feel a connection, but when you tell too much too soon, it's overwhelming. And the other thing that people tend to do is bond on wounds. They tend to, oh, you had a crazy mother, me too. Oh, I had this horrible experience. Oh, I really get it. I had one too. And instead of bonding initially on wounds, I recommend that people bond on the good stuff. They bond on the positives, because you can't embrace a whole person until you know them better. So if somebody said to you, listen, I really like you, I have diabetes, you might think, oh my God, I'm going to become a caretaker to this person. But say you knew them for 6 weeks and you started to really fall for them, and then they said, hey, guess what? I have diabetes. You'd be like, I'm going to embrace that and I will help you. So, think about how somebody needs to receive you in smaller pieces.
Really good advice.
Yeah, it's like you're unfolding, you're unpeeling the onion. Slowly.
I think this is fantastic, because think of it like this. And I was actually listening to an Abraham Hicks talk on this, just the subject. And imagine like it's Thanksgiving, and you have like your family that you have to visit, your neighbor that invited you, and then 2 other family friends that invited you. So you go to one Thanksgiving dinner, you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is good. Then you go to the second one, you're like, okay, I'm kind of feeling like it's too much. And then the third one, you're like, I really can't eat anymore, but I promise these people I have to see them again. And then you're like, I can't even eat anymore. So it's like, it's too much good, too much at once. So that's how Sandy said, letting it unfold. There's like, oh, here's a little taste here and a little taste here and a little taste here. And you just grow in that way. Because I used to be the same way. I'd be like, this is my life story.
Right,
this is what I'm about. This is what I need. Blah, blah, blah. And business transact. And I'm like, nope, it doesn't work that way.
And think of it like a book also. that if you were to read a book and you don't, I mean, some people look at the last page first, but you know, but a good relationship is one where you want to turn the page, like you can't wait to see what's in the next chapter. And if you put it all out at once, you know, there's nothing, there's no pages to turn. So I think, you know, just again, this comes from filling your cup and really feeling full. You don't need to put it all out there. It's not about concealing who you are either. You still want to be authentic, but it's that slow trickle.
Have y'all ever felt like you're just overflowing so much you just want to that's how I feel when I'm dating. I'm so happy, and I've literally been, I mean, I kid you not, I've been happy for 2.5 years without one single day where I've been disrupted. It's amazing. And so when I go out on a date, they're just like, whoa, yeah. Put on my sunglasses.
That's that's the response too. And I think this is really good because you might be attracting like the opposite, and the opposite is what you need. So you're the sunshine and they're the moon, you know, and you need each other to balance each other out, because maybe this person is feeling not necessarily negative, but in a certain, like they've embraced their shadow self and you've embraced your light self. Right. And you need to get more in touch with that, and they need to get more in touch with this, so you complement each other in that way. That could also be a possibility, but when you bring out the sunlight right away, they're like, sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number three.
Number three. Okay, number 3. Surround yourself with support. So just like we're doing now, where you know, and I'm part of Sandy's group as well. And then I watch, you know, Matthew Hussey, fantastic other relationship coach. He's great. He's so fun. And I love his message because it's just like Sandy's, right? If you value yourself first, everything else just manifests. And when we have a question or something, we go to somebody we trust, or a community of people that they have the same goal, they have the same mindset, same beliefs, and you can, you know, give them, you say, this is how I'm feeling, this is the result I got, and they're like, they can look at it objectively, where you can say, oh, I didn't even think about that, or that's a blind spot that I have, and they can support you in that way. Because I know if you have the same mindset and the same beliefs, it's going like a track, round, round, round. When you have an outsider perspective, objectively, like, do you realize that this is a pattern that you have and that you're doing this again? And you're like, oh, shoot, I am. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
And then you can get different results. Because if you do the same thing over and over, you get the same result over and over.
Yes, that's the definition of insanity.
Yes.
People will hire support for personal trainers. They'll hire support to, you know, go do the plumbing in your house. But when it comes to the deeper stuff, it's hard for people sometimes to admit that they need help. And I was telling somebody recently that when I did my TEDx talk, I had no experience public speaking. I was petrified to go on a public stage. So I could have said no to the opportunity. And instead, I hired a coach and I joined Toastmasters and I worked on overcoming my fears. And I got a lot of feedback and a lot of support, and I was able to get up and do my speech. So I think that, you know, if you look at it that way, surround yourself. You don't have to hire somebody. You can get self-help books. You can join Your Last First Date community on Facebook. There's so many ways to get support, and it's out there. Okay.
So. I love that name, by the way, Last First Date.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, put yourself first. So when you are going out on a date or something, you're like, oh, this person's perfect for me, and blah, blah, blah. But then you discover that actually they have this difference, or they want to move really fast, or it's kind of out of your comfort zone or something, and it's not really what you value and what you seem is okay. You are falling in love with this person really quick, and you're like, oh, I'll compromise here, and we'll compromise here, and No. You, when you are coming from a place of loving yourself, when you cultivate your self-care ritual, when you surround yourself with support, that brings to you a confidence that you might not have had before on previous dates. So when you know what you want, and you put yourself first, and you tell the person that you're with, like, hey, I really like you, but I feel like this is moving too fast. Could we slow down and maybe just go on a few more dates some more and blah, blah, blah. That person will respect you more because they see, like how your son said, he values self-care. And they're like, oh, well, if he values self-care, maybe I should value self-care too. And you start that spark that way. And then they learn from you, you learn from them. Because that's an exercise in you being confident in yourself and your boundaries despite emotions, despite being like, oh, I'm head over heels in love with this person and I hope it really turns into something. Like, have the hope that it's still, like, it could turn into something, but don't have your happiness be attached to the outcome of this. Like how I mentioned about how me being obsessed with the goal, and then like when I get to the goal, then I'll be happy. No, if you're not happy with the process, you won't be happy with the goal either way. And when you get it, like Sandy said, a tiny bit, you'll be happy and you're like, okay. But then afterwards you're like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Yes. So I want to say, I love that one. And I think that when you say put yourself first, I want to just add a little piece to this. Yeah. My phone just keeps ringing. That it's really about putting your needs first. And so what a lot of people do is they give up the most important needs. And you and I have talked about core values, and know what your needs are, know what those non-negotiable things are, and don't ever give those up for anybody. And I mean, I've done that in the past. Before I got married, I had no idea really what my needs were. I was all about compromise. I want to make everybody happy. Yeah. And if you're trying to make people happy at your own risk of making yourself unhappy, it takes a huge toll, and it doesn't make anybody happy in the long run. So you've got to know what your needs are and what those non-negotiable things are. And those are boundaries. And, but put those boundaries down in a loving, kind way, not in a bitchy way. It's,
that's important. That's the important distinction, because then you could scare the other person away. Like, no, you're moving too fast. We need to slow down. That's that masculine again.
Yes.
And then you tell the guy, and the guy's like, oh, you shouldn't make any moves with this one.
Yeah. So a lot of men get that message that the woman's cold. She's not very sexual because she's putting the kibosh on everything. And it's not about that. And I also want to speak to what Rocco, is your first name Rocco?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What you said before about kind of preempting things by saying who you are and what you need. And I love that. And that's kind of tied into this. It's when you know your needs, you're able to express what you need. So what you were describing before of the person disappearing, walking away, abandoning, that's another word for that is stonewalling. And stonewalling is basically saying you don't matter. There are 4 ways of arguing that are basically like slamming a door in your face. And stonewalling is one of them. Criticism is one. Defensiveness, and I always forget one. These are the John Gottman. He's a brilliant psychologist, and talks about when these things show up at the beginning of a relationship and these ways of arguing, basically you're going to probably get divorced if you ever get married, because these are all disconnects. And so, some people just don't have the skill to stay in the picture when things get tough. And so you can work with that person if they're open to say, here's what happens, when somebody walks away from me, that just feels terrible. So, if you ever feel like you just want to leave, can you just tell me first? I'm so upset right now. I have to leave the room. I'll come back in an hour and we'll talk about it, and just being able to talk through things like that. There was a woman who was an extreme extrovert, and she met an introvert on Match, and he was like, I don't think that we should go out, even though they had a great connection. He's like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. And she's a coach, and she says she coached him. She's like, well, can we talk about this? What are you afraid is going to happen? And he said, well, I'm afraid I'm going to need some time to myself. And, you're going to be like, not needing any time. And she said, okay, so you tell me you need time. I'll give you that time. What else are you afraid of? And he put it all on the table, and they ended up getting married. They had the most amazing relationship, but he was ready to never date her because of his past experience with extroverts. So that ability to just put it out there and say, here's what I'm afraid of. Oh, well, if you do this, I'll do that. Oh, that's easy.
That's it's so funny because you mentioned, because I immediately online I was like, I'm looking for a serious relationship, and my boyfriend was like, I'm not here for anything serious. I'm like, okay, bye.
I love that you said bye. That's like my favorite thing.
I was like, bye, I'm not talking to you then. Then he sends me another, first it was on Tinder, and then I was like, okay, bye. And then he finds me on OkCupid, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy.
You can't hide.
And then he's just like, because he read my profile, and he's like, you are serious, but I think you could also learn to be a little bit more playful. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then after a while I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, he's right.
I love it.
And then he said I could learn to be a bit more serious. And I'm like, yeah, you could.
Wow.
So it was learning, like, I put this down, like how you said, Rocco, that you wrote down, like you declared that you wanted something, right? And I write down in my morning ritual, like I write down like what my ideal life looks like, and I read it over and over again and just feel that it's coming and know that it's going to come. And I put down that I would get with a scientist. What appears? A French scientist. And I'm like, look at how I react to when I receive things. When I receive things immediately, I shut down. And it was an exercise in learning to receive, because I believed that receiving had to be hard. I had to struggle and sacrifice, and I had to work for it. I can't just easily receive something. That's not honorable. That's not, And then I had to.
That I just recently learned too. That it's okay for it to be easy.
Yeah,
it's okay for it to be easy, and I'm still, I'll still catch myself. I'm quicker now, where I can catch myself, be like, oh wait, I'm falling into the trap of hard work again. I'm falling into the trap of hard work. The most success I had were the things that came the most easy. The money flowed when, it was most easy. The relationships flowed when it was most easy. I didn't have to, I just had to show up and receive.
Yes. And that's actually feminine energy, is the receiving. And it also is true of work. We often think we have to struggle to do the work that matters. And the things that come easily to us that we are so good at, we think, well, anybody could do that. I mean, I did that for years. Like I was an artist and I was painting furniture, and I thought anybody can do this. And this is so easy. And now I look at what I painted and I'm like, it wasn't so easy. And it came easily to me and I loved it. So you have to tap into that, and really learning to receive is one of the hardest things. And also knowing that we deserve or we're worthy is also really hard for people.
That goes back to number 1. Love yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes into number 5.
Yeah.
Because it's enjoying the whole journey. And this was my lesson that I learned was, and I talked to him about this when we were dating. We were both discussing. I said, I think I'm putting a lot of attachment to the word boyfriend, because I said, no, I'm keeping my options open because you're not my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to date. And then he offered, he's like, well, I don't want to just be friends. What do you feel about boyfriend? And I'm like, oh, okay, that was easy. But I was not enjoying, he caught me in not enjoying the journey. Like it was the goal. Like the goal was, you have to be like this and then I'll only be happy. Instead of just enjoying spending time together and learning from each other. And that's when I learned the most, was when I was enjoying the journey and learning lessons from how I observed myself being with him, or being in business, or being in friendships, or, even diet and what I eat. It's just observing the self, because that stuff is fun. Like observing yourself is very, I think it's very fun. Is it because you're like, oh, that's how I react to things? Oh, okay.
And that's also how you let the saboteur voices stay at bay. when you observe them and don't absorb them. And I think that people often go, oh, that's me. You know, I'm horrible. I'm insecure. And it's not. It's like, oh, that voice, that little chorus in your head. Oh, let's just observe it. Oh, then it just.
Yeah. You put the awareness and then it diminishes. Like you put the light on the dark and then there can't be dark anymore.
Yeah. And it increases your self-compassion because you're this conscious observer of your life. And you know, you can be like a journalist, you know, and going, "Ooh, this is interesting. Let's write about that. Let's blog about that." I love what Danette says that she wrote on her mirror. I love being with you every minute of the day, and that's so great. We need to give ourselves messages of love because it has to start within. And there's so many stupid songs out there that piss me off that are like,
we posted in the group the other day with the One Direction and
those were funny. But that one was horrible. I never even heard of that one. But the ones that are like, you know, you don't love yourself, but I love you anyway, and you hate yourself, and I see you as being an amazing. Come on.
No. It's like that's the void filling talk. That's like, I'm going to fill this void in your life, where it doesn't start that way. If you're filling voids with another person, that's a condition.
And that's like
conditional love.
That's codependency. That's unhealthy love. That's not healthy interdependent love, which is really what you're aiming for, which it sounds like you found. And what I also really like hearing about is how he brought out parts of you and you brought out parts of him. And I think love often shows up in packages that we don't expect.
Yeah.
People have a type, you know, I did a podcast with somebody recently and he said his type was blonde, Barbie types. And he was never finding a match. And then finally realized, you know, maybe I should stop looking for blonde Barbies. And he found this shapely, voluptuous brunette who he fell madly in love with and he's marrying. But it's when you stop looking for what you think you should have, it's the shoulds, and you take that script out of your head and really tap into your heart like you've talked about so many times today. Then you start really opening to what's good for you. And also soulmate. Hi, Yusuf. Welcome. And some people define soulmate as a person who sees your shadows, who's your mirror and helps to complement who you are. And I like that definition. I think that we want somebody who's going to call us up to our highest self, who's going to help fill in the gaps, not complete you, but help you complete yourself.
Yes, because I think it's all you. You can only be responsible for your feelings and your emotions and the way you react to things because you know yourself best. But having somebody bring out, that's like that objective third person. That's not just in your universe. They can observe you from the outside and say, hey, you're doing that again. And you're like, oh, shoot, I am. Thank you. And then they bring you up to your higher self of what you love yourself anyway, but you know that you have this huge potential and they help bring that out in you.
Absolutely. So Isabel, parting words, a parting message to everybody who needs a little hope and inspiration. What would you share with them?
I would say to not be surprised in what package everything unfolds, be open to receiving in unexpected ways, and observe yourself and how you react in these circumstances, whether it's a present or a date or a new friendship, whatever it may be. Come from a place of loving yourself first, and then watch how everything else starts coming into place. And when you're feeling like you're not loving yourself, ask for support. The community is here for you. Tap back into your higher self and that place of love for yourself, and watch how everything else is just, it becomes easy.
I love it. Anybody have any questions? We are open to questions.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. How important is having a home? Isabel, I'm very similar to you. I travel the world. And I realized that one of the reasons I travel the world so much is because I've been in avoidance of a home.
You're like me.
Yeah, and like I associate home with abandonment because I was raised by 10 different families. So I either slept on a couch, a floor, or on a bed with 10 other people, you know? So all my life, I've attracted people that'll be like, hey, just why don't you stay with me? Or girlfriends that are like, hey, why don't you stay with me? Literally, I have not paid like official rent ever in my life. And I just now found my first place. So I just wanted to, I wanted to ask y'all how important, what's going to happen to a person that's 28 years old and has never had a home. And when you finally have a home of your own, what happens?
What happens? I think enjoying it, because that's the funny thing too. Like, as soon as everything became official, usually like in the past, I would be like, oh my God, yes, I reached the goal and everything. But when it happened, I was just like, I'm enjoying this. This is nice. And then letting it unfold again. Like, yeah, I did like a little celebration, like, yay, this is nice. But at the same time, I just let it unfold, enjoyed it. And right now, after Europe, I'm still rent free. I'm at my parents' right now. And but you know, I got to the place where I'm like, I'm ready for some roots. I'm not done traveling, but definitely the digital nomad lifestyle for me, it was a big chapter that taught me a lot of things. But now I'm ready to do more intentional travel and not just be taken by the wind in every which direction, you know, because it's great. And I learned so much, and I've had experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world, but yeah, and I think enjoying this new chapter, like you said, now that you have your own home, I think enjoying that is a big key to letting everything else unfold too.
Yeah, I would say similarly. I think that setting down roots represents something different to every person. And so Rocco, it's more about what it is to you, and you know, and if it represents maybe more permanence in your life, and maybe that is an invitation for a woman to come into your life, that woman who's going to massage your head.
Yes. You never know.
I see head massages in your future.
Yes, I do too.
I'm just like.
Well, it's such a sensual thing when somebody does wash your hair. It is. It's an amazing thing. It feels great. So I totally get it. And I also know, like, my son lives with me. He's 24 and he's launching a career in music and art. And I let him stay with me until he's launched. But he doesn't want to stay here indefinitely. And he hasn't been dating for the reason that he doesn't have a home and he doesn't have a car. And he feels like, what am I going to do? Tell him I want to go back to mom's, you know? So he knows that for him, that establishing roots is going to mean I can then have a girlfriend. So it might mean the same thing to you. I don't know.
Hey, if your son ever needs any help, I'd love to be of service. I'm actually a full-time inspirational hip-hop artist. I use
cool.
full-time, yeah. I have a business called Gift Wrapper.
Oh, I love that. That's a great name. Fabulous. Well, enjoy your new digs and the gift wrapping. And Danette says, awesome.
Yes.
Danette is a dancer.
As a token of appreciation, I love this blab. It's probably the week's best blab I've been on.
Oh, woo!
And as a token of my appreciation, I'm going to drop my email here. And then I want y'all to email me key points from this particular thing right here that y'all would like to include in a song. And I'm going to make a song out of it.
All right. Thank you. Cool. What a nice gift.
Yeah, because
a nice gift wrap.
Y'all provided so much valuable insight and information that I would love to just share in my own little conduit type of way. So
I love it. That's so expansive. And this is why I love doing the work that I do, because every life that you touch touches another life. And there's so much expansiveness. And again, it's like you give away in order to, you know, spread the message further. And the more people you can touch, the better. So we need to spread these positive messages of self-care and self-love to manifest the love you want. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This will be up for replay, and I am going to probably create a YouTube video and put that up too on my YouTube channel, Last First Date. So again, my contact information is lastfirstdate.com. Read the blog. I write for Good Men Project, which I do weekly. Have an article. That's a really good forum, right, Raka?
Yes. Yeah.
And join Your Last First Date. It's just for women, but I would love to have more people in there. And Isabel, you want to just give out your...
I currently, you can find me at thebellavie.com. It's THEBELLAVIE.com, all about digital nomading, running a business from the road, discovering what your life purpose is so you can monetize it and make a living. And I am in transition, so what I will be doing in the near future is not yet revealed, but if you would like to receive notifications from me, I will post where you can get, I send out a weekly newsletter. It's bit.ly/postcards from Bella, and everything will be revealed soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great day. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody in the United States. Bye.
Bye.